Hey everybody, welcome back to Gideon Stuff. Today, I'm finally reviewing the Bestech Penguin. This is a knife I've had for a long time. I'm not sure when you guys will see this video, but I did an unboxing video of this knife back in summer of 2021. I always meant to review it, and I just never did. I carried it a lot, I used it a lot, but never got around to reviewing it. So, we're finally doing it. Let's get into this with our blade length measurement. Look what I found. Hey, we have the metal ruler back. This is the first video I'm filming with the metal ruler being found. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure when you guys will see this video, but blade length coming in here at, yeah, over 3.5 inches. It's a big blade. It's a big blade. The knife itself is much bigger than you might expect. I certainly thought it was going to be a little bit smaller before I first got it in hand. Okay, let's do our size comparisons. Start off, as always, with our rats. There's the 1 and the 2. There we go. Next up, let's grab our Civivis. There's the Elementum. And there's the Praxis. There we go. Very, very nice. And let's grab our flagship comparison models. There's our little bug out. And there's the PM2. A lot of blue on the screen right there. You guys know me, I love my blue knives. And let's close this out with some Bestech knife comparisons. Here's one of my all-time favorites. You guys already know what it is. It's the Paladin. And color matching for real. Here's a swordfish. Cool, cool, cool. All right. So, well, actually, you know what? You know what? I have it here on the table, so here's a QSP penguin, because why not? Penguins. All right, so what are we looking at here? This is a D2 blade that comes down to 15 thousandths behind the edge. Flat grind, very, very nice. The blade shape, I think most places list it as a drop point. I kind of think of it as a modified sheep's foot, a drop's foot, whatever you guys want to call it. It'll fly. It's a liner lock, steel clip, G10 scales, steel liners. Did I already say that? I don't know. And it's running on bearings. All right, let's go and see this guy cut. Ah, yes. The Bestech Penguin. A knife that I have had for a long time with the intent to review and then just never did because I don't know. Because it's an excellent knife. It's a really, really excellent knife. And let's just get into it. How's that action? Really good. And it's weird because the flipper tab right away looks like it sucks. Because look how low it is compared to the center line of the pivot, right? But the detent is dialed perfectly. The way that this little area flows into the flipper tab, the jimping on the flipper tab doesn't look like much, but it just works so good. You can light switch this. You can push button it. It works amazingly. Great, great knife. Action, great action. We're only talking about action right now. How are the ergos? Look at that. Look at those sexy, sexy curves. When you getting a little too sexual here, guys. When you hold the knife, those curves all make sense. It fits in your hand so well. The jimping here is excellent. Your thumb goes in there so nicely. You can kind of choke up in this choil. I wouldn't really recommend it, but you can do it. Yeah, this blade is about 15 thousandths behind the edge, D2, and this is probably the best EDC blade shape out there, if I'm being honest. I call this a modified sheep's foot drop point. I don't even know what it is, but the thing is you get
You have a tip there that points down for your utility cuts. And by the way, in this grip here, this little swedge or poon spoon, lefty EDC, right here, get your finger in there really nicely. Your other fingers wrap in here nice, and then look at how the contours of this handle once again just tuck into. It's so good. Oh, okay, but we're not talking about the blade yet. We're talking about how it carries. I've said this before, Bestech doesn't make the most exciting looking clips, but damn it, they work. They really just work. The clip's recessed, and even though the screws are not, that's something that Bestech, I think, going to 2022, they are starting to fix that, which I'm glad to see, but even here, as you guys saw, there's really not much to complain about because it goes in and out of your pocket exactly like it's supposed to, so when it works, you can't complain, right? Okay, let's talk about the blade now. Oh, you can get to that tip so good. So good. Might help if I knew where the tape was to cut it. Oh my gosh. Such a... I've said this before and I'll say it again. Bestech knows how to do a flat grind. Like... Oh, that is so nice. That is so nice. Okay. Let's go ahead and do our pull through. And let's see how this crunches down. I'm actually not sure how good this will do. The answer is actually really good compared to a lot of EDC knives that we see here on this in this test. That's actually not bad. I'm actually really impressed with that. Another reason to make me just love that blade shape. Okay, and now let's grab our pool noodle. Boom whackers. I remember doing those in elementary school. Actually, I didn't get to do it very much because I was always in trouble with the teacher and she never let me touch them. Her and I did not get along. Okay. I'm in some kind of mood today, guys. I don't know if you can tell. Let's try and get a nice thin... Oh. Oh, man. Yes. Nice, thin noodles. Sliced through very well. Didn't catch up. Didn't bind. Very even and consistent all the way. Yeah, that's a winner, guys. Okay, let's go back to the table and I'll finish gushing about this knife. Alrighty, let's get into what I'm liking and not liking about the Bestech Penguin here. As you might have been able to tell from the cutting footage, there's a lot I like about this knife. I think this is an excellent knife. And yes, excuse the vehicle that just drove by. But yeah, there's a lot here to like. So let's get into it. First of all, this is a pretty cool looking knife. It definitely has its own style, its own look. I like it. I think it's a good looking knife. So there we go. Pretty cool. Yeah. Sorry if I'm a bit out of it today, guys. This is the first review I've sat down to film in a while, and just kind of a weird day. Okay. Next up, access to the liner. Really good. And that action, let's talk about that. Yeah, this is a really good action. Initially, I did not think the action would be that great because, as you can see here, the flipper tab looks a little bit wonky. It's positioned way below the center line of the pivot, and usually that means that you're not going to get a very good flip. However, look how this little scoop here flows perfectly into the flipper tab. That makes a big difference. And the jimping here doesn't look like much, but it makes a big difference as well. And the way the flipper tab is shaped, if you push button it, works just fine. If you light switch it, it works just fine. A knife having that little curve that leads into the flipper tab is really important. Let's look at the Civivi Odium here. This is a knife that kind of misses the mark. As you can see here, there's like this little, you have this thing that kind of swoops into the flipper tab, but there's like this little step. As a result, sometimes it doesn't really flip well, especially since the knife is so small. When you match them up perfectly, like look at that. Perfectly, it works a lot better. The detail on this knife is really good. Yeah, works really good on a flip. You can look it out like that. I might include a video of that. But yeah, cool action. Next thing, I like the two-color G10 here. This is kind of a small detail, but it's something that I appreciate. And this bolstered look. It's really cool. It's nice, especially for a $52 knife. It makes it feel a little bit special, a little bit nicer than you might expect. That's always a good thing. Next, this blade is excellent. There's no getting around it. This is probably one of the very best blade shapes for everyday carry out there. You have a tip that drops down so you can get your utility cuts. I talked about this a lot during the cutting footage, but there's just a lot that you can do with this blade. It's very slicey, very slicey. I should probably clean it up, but this just glides through material. As you can see here, nice acute tip for when you do want to do those utility cuts. Just really good all the way around. The D2 on this knife held up plenty good for me. There is one thing that we'll talk about in the negatives, but held up really well. Just all around a great blade. The ergonomics match the blade perfectly. These ergos are so nice. The way this knife flows and curves, it just fits my hand perfectly. The jimping up here is good and exactly where it needs to be. If you want to hold the knife for those utility cuts, you have this little area here for your finger. And look how the knife just folds back into your hand like that. Very natural. Like that a whole lot. Next thing, the pocket clip on this knife is good. This is something I talk about all the time. Not the most crazy looking pocket clip, but it's a really good pocket clip. Bestech, I think, makes good clips. Good spring, goes in and out of the pocket nice. The clip is recessed even though the screws are not, but those screws don't catch up on my pants pocket, so there's really nothing to complain about. I like this backspacer here. It's got this nice pattern in it. Pretty cool. I like backspacers. And overall, I think the best thing about this knife is that it's just a really good EDC carry. And that's, at the end of the day, that's all you can want, right? Really nice. Does everything that you need to do. Oh, another thing I could point out. On the scales, look at all these nice little, all the nice milling and chamfering and stuff. It's just little extra steps like that that really make me appreciate a lot of Bestech's budget stuff. And yes, I'm kind of a Bestech fanboy, but I feel like I have good reason. All right, let's move on to the negatives. First negative, pocket clip isn't reversible. That's going to be a bad thing for a lot of people. I'm sorry. Next thing, whoops. I did get some rust on this blade. Usually D2 doesn't really rust on me. As you guys know, I live in New Mexico. There's not very much humidity. And even when I'm using my knives in a dirty environment or I'm sweating with them in my pocket, I just wipe off the blade and it's usually fine. I do oil up my carbon steels and stuff, but I don't typically oil my D2. This did rust on me, so it wasn't major. In fact, you can see that I took the rust off. It just took a little bit of WD-40 and I rubbed it off. Just surface rust, wasn't anything bad, but I do have to point it out because it did happen. Next thing, this little choil here. I can put just like my first knuckle in here, barely. I am touching up against the edge. If you're doing some really fine detail work, that might be okay. I kind of wish they'd either just made this smaller or bigger. Although, how would a forward choil work on this knife? Actually, a forward choil on this knife would be awesome. That would be great. Oh well, they didn't do it. And next thing, the lanyard hole is kind of, I don't know, I wish they put the lanyard in the backspacer. This just kind of seems a little bit
odd to me. Final conclusions. Yep, that's it. This is going to be kind of a quick review, but final conclusions. This is a great knife. 100%, I can absolutely recommend it. $52 is what these cost. There's a bunch of different versions. You get them in all kinds of different colors. There's, besides the satin finished blade, there's also a black wash blade. That is something I can complain about, I guess. I kind of wish they offered this in a stone wash instead of just satin or coated. I do wish there was a stone washed version, but that's just kind of personal preference. Other than that, this is a great knife. The ergonomics are absolutely fantastic. I cannot stress how good these ergonomics are enough. The blade works so well for anything you might have to do EDC-wise. It is a little bit bigger than you might expect. I guess you could put that in the negatives, but for me, it didn't feel like unwieldy. It didn't feel too big. It felt pretty good, and I like that a whole lot. Overall, this knife gets a recommendation from me 100%. I can't believe it took me this long to review it, but this is one of those knives that I would just carry and use and enjoy as a tool. And I didn't really think about making a video about it because I just like to use it. And it is one of my favorite budget EDC knives. Should you get one? Yes. Yes, you should. I think you'd really enjoy it. It feels a lot more high-end than a lot of other budget knives. That's something that I appreciate about Bestech's budget line is they feel very high quality. And yeah, just a great knife. Gets a recommendation from me 100%. So, if you liked this video, leave it a like, comment below, and subscribe. If you didn't like the video, comment below telling me why not. And I've been Gideon. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.